Hey folks, this is Vent with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today I wanted to give you a quick thoughts slash first impressions of the Stardew Valley board game. Now I know what you're saying, well Vince, this isn't the board game, this is Tabletop Simulator. How can you be possibly doing any sort of thoughts video on a game that you don't own? Well, I have every intention of buying the Stardew Valley board game when it gets reprinted. It sold out so fast on the first run that no one could buy a copy except for scalpers who are selling it for like 200 bucks plus on eBay. Not my fault, I'm just saying. So when the game gets reprinted, hopefully soon, demand is huge for it right now. You'd think that they'd get a jump on that, but I digress. So while we're waiting, I did boot up Tabletop Simulator. There is a Stardew Valley mod workshop thing that you can download and play the board game for yourself. It's even scripted. I've played it once, and it's not bad based on what I've played so far. So let's go ahead and show you what this is like and what the game's all about. Then I'll tell you what I thought of my first playthrough. Again, not a full-blown review, but I do want to give you some thoughts onto why I liked and didn't like it. So this is what you see when you first boot up the game. F11 to hide the interface like I've already done. There's new game, which is the default way to play, and then there's a first way to play. It will hide certain cards. Like if you do this first button here, it says only standard season cards in the season deck used for first time play. But I'm just going to click on new, and the game sets up everything for you, which is really nice. Look at that. All right, so I'm not going to teach you everything about this game, but I will show you most of it, and that way you get an idea of what the game's like. This is I hesitate to use the word worker placement. It's more of like an action worker movement kind of thing, where you're going to be moving your worker along these white lines here, taking various actions, but you can only take 2 actions per day. So, for example, you might start your guy off here in the community center, pier, and visit Gus area, and then maybe move 1 space adjacent to the right to possibly open geodes or donate to the museum or whatever. And then typically your turn is over for the day. There's a couple of other things you can do, but I don't want to confuse you too much. Long story short, you will be taking actions by moving around on this board to do different things. You also have a farm up here, which is where your crops grow. You start the game with this parsnip. On the reverse side, it's like an upgraded starred version of it. In the video game, you can typically upgrade crops if you get the right growing conditions, like using the right fertilizer and all that stuff. You can also do some end-of-turn effects here at your farm. I'm not going to get too much into that, but long story short, you've got this farming track here, and whenever you purchase a crop from the market, you're going to look at the number space here. On the very bottom of the tile on the bottom left, it'll say water 2. That is where you would place it. So this parsnip starts on the 2 space because of the number 2 here. If I were to buy, say, this melon, it would start on the 4 space. Okay, you'll notice that there are different symbols on these crops. Some can only be purchased in the spring, some can only be purchased in the summer, and then fall, and so on. You really can't buy any in the winter for obvious reasons. So there's that. So you'll be purchasing crops to put along this track, and then as you water crops, they will move to the right. And then when they're completely off the track, that's when you would put it into your own personal inventory. Each player has their own little starting board, if you will. There's a starting tool that they start with. There's 6 inventory slots here. There's 2 spots below for profession upgrades. Each board is different. One player might start as a fishing profession, while another player starts with the mining profession. And at the end of every season, the game is played over 4 seasons, but at the end of every season, you'll draw a profession upgrade, and you'll get to observe that as you play the game. Over here to the right, you'll see profession upgrades, mining, fishing, farming, and foraging to represent the 4 different player boards that are in the game. So if I were part of the fishing profession, I'd be drawing these profession cards over here at the end of every season, and then equipping them. And you'll see some of them will give you upgrades, like this fisher, for example. Fish generate +3 gold when you sell them. You'll see that there's a reverse side to that. You can choose either or. This one is, I can't zoom in on that way, but when fish move, symbol occurs, you choose what fish track tiles are discarded, if any. This spinner, when fishing, this adds 1 heart to your roll. So long story short, there are unique profession upgrades for the different player boards. So if you start off as a miner, you'll be dealing with these profession upgrades for the mining profession and so on. Okay? So there's that. What else do we see on the board here? On the very top is Grandpa's Goals. The game will deal out 4 of them to you, and typically you have to complete all 4 in order to win the game. Now, they are scaled based on the number of players. So if we take a look at this Catch Legendary Fish goal, catch legendary fish equal to the number of players. So if you're playing a solo game, you'll need to catch 1 legendary fish. If you're playing with 4 players, you need to catch 4 legendary fish, and so on. Make friends. Have friends equal to 3 times the number of players. So in a 1-player game, I need to make 3 friends in order to complete this goal. And the objective is to complete all 4 of these before the end of the game, which again is at the end of 4 seasons. Typically there's like, I want to say, 10 turns per round, something like that. Or 10 turns per season. Over here to the right is the community center stuff. If you remember in the video game, you were fixing up this run-down community center so that you can restore it to its former glory and drive out Joja Mart or whatever to make it a historical landmark. Well, in this game, the goals for each of the rooms starts out hidden, and then you can spend hearts that you earn by befriending villagers to reveal these, and then you can deliver those items to the community center to then complete this. In a standard game, you need to deliver a number of bundles equal to the number of players in order to complete that particular room. So if I was playing a solo game just by myself, all I need to do is contribute just contribute to this card 1 time, and I've completed this room. If I was playing 4 players, we would have to contribute to this particular card 4 times in order to complete this room. So again, the game scales with the Grandpa's objectives and with the community center so that it makes the game harder the more players that you add to it to compensate for the more actions that you have. This is cooperative, so players will be working together. So because of the extra actions, we have to make the game harder by scaling it. So you're going to be spending hearts to reveal these rooms, and then what they need, and then you contribute to them in order to complete the community center. A typical game is complete all 4 objectives, all 4 of these Grandpa's goals, and complete every single room in the community center to win the game. I have thoughts on that later, but I'll just say it's difficult. You can make the game easier by simply focusing on Grandpa's goals. I think that's way more doable for your first couple of games, so I would recommend that. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I've got a lot to say about that. Anyway, so what else can we do in the Stardew Valley Village? Let's go ahead and take a look at the different action spaces. At some point, you'll be able to build barns and get animals. So, for example, over here to the left, there's a coop that you can build if you spend 10 money and 2 wood. You must build the coop before you can purchase or own chickens, ducks, or rabbits. So you'll be able to get various animals in this game. And then also this barn. You must build the barn before you can purchase or own cows, goats, or sheep. And then there's some other things like the well. Use an action during your turn from any space to harvest a planted crop from any field. Silo. So these are like nice buildings that you can purchase to give yourself passive bonuses. So there you go. That's a quick look at that. And then this allows you to collect. This collect from animals allows you to collect resources from animals. You can water your crops at this space to, move these crops from left to right. There is a little bar above here. There's like a red crow bar and a green crow bar. Different events will pop up at the beginning of every turn. And if a green crow is showing, then it eats a crop on the 3, 2, or 1 space. If a red crow pops up, then it'll eat a crop on the 5, 4, or 3 space. Notice the little bars there. So this is just a guide to tell you, okay, when a crow comes up, which crop gets eaten? All right, which color? So there's that. So if you end up here with your character, you'll be able to take these actions. Down here, you can buy animals from Marnie. Over here to the left is river fishing. Over here to the right is ocean fishing, and up here is lake fishing. Now, how does the fishing work in this game? Well, there's a fish track down here, and typically what you're going to be doing is rolling dice, trying to match the symbols on the bottom left-hand corner of the fish themselves. So let's say that I go fishing, and I'm on this river fishing space. Now, you'll notice that there's 3 different symbols. There's a blue triangle, there's a green circle, and then one not shown here is the white square. That tells you the type of fish that you can catch while you're at that location. So if I go river fishing, there's a blue triangle here. I can only catch the fish that have the blue triangles on them because those are the fish unique to that location. So when I roll my dice, I have to either hope for 2 hearts or 2 of those green, whatever they are. I know there are little things that walk around in the community center in the video game. I don't know what they're called. Or I can roll the dice and hope for a heart and one of those little green apple-looking things and get a fish that way. And then the money on the bottom right is how much you can sell the item for. You can also gift these to villagers when they come up so that you can earn hearts, but it's up to you whether or not you want to sell these things, assuming you catch them. How do you roll the dice? Well, there's dice here for a lot of different things. For rolling dice for fish, you would just, roll dice, and then you'd try and match the symbols. So if I got that heart in this green apple-looking thing, I'd come over here and go, okay, which of these? Oh, the salmon has that. Great, so I've caught the salmon. So I can then grab this salmon, put it into my inventory to possibly sell later or give to a villager. Okay, so that's the fish track and typically how fishing works. Community center stuff up here, buy seeds and sell things. Typically, you have to buy seeds from this place and sell things at that peer's place. And when you want to buy a seed, that's what these 12 things are here. It costs 1 gold to purchase one of these crop seeds. And then whenever you buy it, it goes into your farm track up here. I already talked about that. I'm not going to rehash it. To make a friend, what you do is you draw from the villager deck. I'll just drag one there. Okay, so Harvey. So here's a look at Harvey. Upper left-hand corner tells you what he loves. He likes parsnips and he likes that mushroom forage thing, whatever. So if I have that in my inventory, whenever I draw this character having taken this action, I can give him one of those things, and he'll give me hearts for doing that. If I happen to give him an item when it's in winter, which is when his birthday is, I get an extra heart. So it's just kind of luck. When you draw these villagers, you have to hope that you're drawing a character of the current season of their birthday. On the upper right is what they hate. They hate fish and they hate milk. If you manage to give them a gift, you get to keep the card and keep it next to you. If you don't give them a gift, you discard them and you don't get to keep it. But if you do keep it, there's a little gift symbol on the bottom here. And when that gift symbol comes up in this random season card deck, which I'll get to, you'll be able to gain the bonus listed here. Gain 1 random mineral. Okay, so I'll just leave that card here for right now to demonstrate that later. So, Community Center, again, you can take an action here to spend hearts to reveal these cards, and you can also deliver items to complete these rooms, okay? So that's that. You also gain rewards for doing that, too. You can see when you restore a room, gain an item. When you restore the last room, gain an epic item, and so on. Let's talk about the mine and buying buildings and lake fishing. Buy buildings is what I talked about already over here, the coop, the barn, silo. You need the resources and the money for that. So Robin will help you do that. Lake fishing, already talked about fishing. It's just you can find the circle green fish here. Explore the mine is over here to the right. There are 12 levels to this thing, I think 12. And there's a bunch of these map decks. These are randomized. So just if I hit R to shuffle these, there's a ton of them. So what you're going to do when you go mining, you're going to roll 2 dice. Again, it's going to be, let's just drag these 2 over here. Okay. And let's say I rolled, I don't know, for example purposes, flip and, okay, there we go. So let's say I rolled this purple star and this heart. So I'm going to look at the columns and rows. I have a choice. I can either take that one there, or I can take this one down here. So this is, I think, 2 geodes or an ore. So if I come over here to the little area, on the very bottom row is a quick look at that. And there's symbols in the upper left that tell you... Oops, I didn't mean to click on that. Okay. But there's symbols in the upper left that tell you what you should be picking up. So again, if you zoom in here, you'll see that there's like these 2 little brown-looking dirt ball things. So if I come over here, and you'll notice, oh look, this magma geode, the omni geode, the frozen geode, and the geode have that symbol. So I can grab them. Which ones can I grab? You look at the mine card, and typically it'll tell you what you can grab. If you look on the bottom left, it'll say the ore that you can find on level 1 is copper, and the one below that is just that regular brown geode. So if I were to grab a geode, I could only grab the brown ones. So let's just say that I rolled that. I'm going to go ahead and collect this geode. On the reverse side of these tiles are the actual ore. So if you're looking for the ore here in this particular version of the game, you just have to flip them over like that. There's your iron ore. On the reverse side of the magma geode is gold ore. Omni geode, there's the iridium ore, and so on. What are you doing with geodes? Well, that's a separate space, which I'll get to in a little bit. Getting back to the mine, you'll notice that there's some other symbols, like there's bug meat, and there's an event deck here. So if I roll 2 of these green things there, I would draw from this mine event, which is you may descend 1 level, or whatever the card happens to say. As a side note, one of the actions that you can take at the end of your turn is building stairs. If you have a stone in your inventory, well, it depends on the number of players. If you're playing a solo game, you only need to use 1 stone to build stairs, and the stairs allow you to move on to the next level automatically. But sometimes you will find staircases on these maps. Sometimes you won't. Okay, but let's say that I somehow managed to get to the next level. You would just remove that, and now you've got a completely new set of... You're at level 2. Sometimes you'll see enemies and skulls, and whenever you happen to roll a skull, you observe whatever that effect is there. And it gets worse as you descend into the levels. And if you happen to reach the bottom, if you reach level 12 of the mine, gain 1 epic item. So yeah, and these are random. There's like 35 or so cards of these. There's a ton of them. So you're going to rotate those out every time you descend a new level. So that's what the mine's all about. I was talking about the geodes earlier. If you go down to this space to open geodes, you can open up as many geodes as you want. And you take a look at this little chart here, and then you roll more dice. And if you roll a heart, you roll 1 die. If you roll the heart with this brown geode, you get a rock. If you roll the green apple thingy, you get a copper, and if you roll that one, you get an artifact. The artifact bag is over here, and when you take that, you'll see, oh, it's a fire opal with a little letter H. That leads me to the museum, which is on that same space. Let's go ahead and come over here. Donate to the museum is also in this area. You just simply match the letter H. There you go. You could also sell it for 5 gold if you want to. But why you want to donate to the museum is because if you fill the entire column, if you fill E, F, G, and H to gain an epic item, or if you fill slots A, B, C, and D, you get an epic item. Also, that may be a grandpa's goal. I don't think it is for this particular example, but there is a card in here that says, like, fill up so many museum spaces equal to the number of players times 2 or something like that. So it may task you with filling up the museum by donating to it. Or again, you can sell these things too. All right, so that's a quick look at that. I think I've covered almost every space. On a turn, what you're typically going to do, and let's go ahead and just generate a character real quick. This is something it took me a while to figure out. You can generate a character from here and just hit OK, and it'll spawn a character for you, which is kind of cool. And a turn plays out something like this. In the beginning of the game, you're going to get 3 coins to start with. Everything's going to be populated. There are spring tiles here that are populated around the map. At the end of the season, those go away and new tiles come out for, you've got summer and autumn and winter. So you're going to be seeing, well, this is summer, autumn, winter. So you're going to be replacing these tiles at the end of the season here. So you're not going to be able to collect all of these, okay? But anyway, once everything is set up, on your turn, you're going to draw a new card from the season deck. Flip it over. I'm going to skip that because that's just an event. Let's just do that. Okay. So this is the spring card. You're going to follow the symbols from top to bottom. The top one simply says, flip over a crop in your crop's area to its upgraded side. So now this parsnip went from 2 to 3 gold. So because it's upgraded. So that's good. This cat tells you to give the first player token to the next person clockwise in a single player game. Don't worry about that. This fish icon tells you to remove the first 2 of these fish here and put them into the trash. If it's a legendary fish, it goes back into the bag. So this perch is a regular fish. That goes here. This angler is a legendary fish because of the little crown symbol. That goes back into the fish bag. And the game is scripted to deal new ones out, which is nice. And then you've got this Joja symbol. And these are bad. These are drawn from time to time. And they go on the appropriate space. So this is the community center area, I think. So I need to find that. Yeah, community center is here. So I'm going to put that there. And basically, this is a debuff of some kind. Bundles require 1 additional donation to complete. So this makes it harder to deliver things to the community center in order to complete your objective. And there are different Joja tiles for each of the different sections that debuff that action space. And to get rid of them, at the end of a turn, you can remove Joja tiles by spending 5 gold or 1 heart. And that gets rid of that. Okay? And then this little box simply says, go ahead and buy and sell things, or not, just sell things. Sell and trade things that happen to be in your inventory right now. There's nothing in my inventory, but typically you'd have to visit Pier in order to sell things, but this symbol allows you to throw it into your little delivery bin that you start with in the video game, and then you just get the money from that. So that's once you do that, once you follow those, then you can coordinate with players to start on any space that you want to, and then once you're done with that, you get 2 actions. So for example, I might decide to go to the mine and then maybe go down to a different space. You can either do that action twice, like you can stay on that space twice and do that action twice, or you can take 1 action, move to an adjacent spot via this white line, and then take another action. Whenever you do that, whenever you move from one area to another, you'll be passing these tiles here. So you can forage for a free action, just flip those over and take them. So as an example, let's say I go here, I go to the mine, I roll my dice, and what do I get? I got 2 hearts, it's a skull. Nothing happens, luckily, but I don't gain anything either. That was 1 action. Let's just go ahead, travel down here, water my crops. And along the way, I can either forage that or that. So let's just forage that. It's a leek. That leek goes into my personal inventory to possibly sell or gift later. I don't have Harvey here, I'm just saying. And then water the crops is my second action. That just simply moves all crops to the right by 1. And that's it. That ends my turn. I go back to this here, back to my farm, and then I can do end of turn effects. Build stairs by spending rocks. Again, that's equal to the number of players. You have to spend rocks equal to the number of players that are in the game. So if you want to descend to the next level in the mine, if you have 3 players, you have to donate 3 rocks to do it. Pet animals. Petting animals will flip them to their reverse side and give you better benefits. You can remove Joja tiles. Upgrade your starting tools. That's one thing I didn't touch on. At the beginning of the game, players will choose a starting deck of cards here. It'll be like pickaxe, training rod, watering can, and hoe. Let's just, for the sake of argument, do training rod. There's a deck here. I didn't mean to shuffle them. But they would go in order from lowest to highest. So something like that. 3, 2... I'm looking at the numbers on the very top there. All right, so there we go. So you start with this training rod. Every player starts with a deck, okay, of one particular tool. And at the end of your turn, you can spend the resource located here, in this case it's 5 gold, to upgrade it. So now I've got a bamboo rod. When you fish, you may re-roll one of your fishing dice. So when you go fishing, you can re-roll dice in hopes of getting the symbols that you need to catch these fish. Likewise, the other tools have similar upgrades. The copper pickaxe, the iron pickaxe. So you can upgrade these tools. And some of those upgrades are required via the Grandpa goals part. So one of Grandpa's goals is to upgrade tools. So you'll be picking one of these and upgrading your tools along the way by spending resources, and that's what that upgrade starting tool means. Yeah, I know that's a lot. This game throws a lot at you. I didn't mean to talk on so long about this, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I possibly forgot to talk about. In this deck, there's other symbols, like there's that gift symbol I was talking about. When that comes up, that's when this gain 1 random mineral would come into play, assuming you've got him as a friend. So it pays to have villagers early if you can swing it. And then as you're going through this deck, the current season will end. Spring has ended. Place new trees and forageable tiles. Draw 2 profession upgrades and keep 1. So I think there's a button for that. At least I thought it's... I guess not. I'll have to... No? Okay. Yeah, the tip section, when it was loading, said that there was a way to automatically populate this, but I'm not exactly sure how to do it. So what I'll do is I'll just, like, hover over, delete, 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 delete. Just delete all of these spring tiles. And then here's the summer ones here, so I would just drag these out to their appropriate spaces. I think there's a way to automate that. I just don't know what button I need to hit to do it. But you would put the forage tiles there. There's spots for the trees there, and so on. I'm not going to do the rest, but you get the idea. And then you would continue through the next season, drawing 1 card, taking 2 actions, coming back here, doing an end of turn thing, drawing a new card, observing the actions, taking 2 actions, coming back here, doing end of turn effects. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And all the while, you're trying to complete Grandpa's goals and deliver things to those community rooms there. That's the gist of it. There may be 1 or 2 things that I've glossed over, but that's typically how the game is played. So I've played 1 time at this point. I'm going to go ahead and load a playthrough, my first playthrough that I was working on, to show you how far I got. On the end of season cards, there's a button to change current forage tiles. I didn't see that, but okay. So, wrong file. Let's load. It may not have saved anymore. It was an autosave, so maybe it got erased by accident while I was talking. Oh well. Anyway, I'll just recap it for you. I had I made 0 friends. None of these rooms were done I got to winter. None of these rooms were done. I had no friends. But I completed all of Grandpa's goals. And I had, like, 30 gold. So I played exactly how I did in the video game. I ignore people, and I make money. That's what I do. And that's what I did in this game. And I won the easy mode in that all you have to do is complete Grandpa's goals, but I would not have won the standard mode, which is complete all of these rooms. And therein lies a couple of issues that I have with the game. I feel like Stardew Valley is a video game that lets you take things at your own pace. Okay, so if you want to spend 1 year just growing crops, you can do that. If you want to spend 1 year growing your mining skills, you can do that. If you want to spend this year or this month or this season even just talking to people, you can do that. There's no limit. There's no hard end date for Stardew Valley, at least the video game. This game ends after 1 full year. So this game is forcing you to try and do it crams all of these things into 1 year. And in my playthrough, I did not build one farm building, or I did not construct a single building. I did not buy one farm animal. All I did was mine, fish, and earn money by growing crops. That's all I did. And that's all I could do. I managed to get my objectives done, but like I didn't see a third of the game because of the limitations that this game sets on you in terms of time. If I were to make my own house rules, I would extend the playtime to 2 years as opposed to 1 year. So whenever these cards come up and then you're done, I would like set up the game again for a second year, and then just reuse, shuffle the spring and summer tiles and all of that for another game as if you were playing a brand new game again, and just have at it. I mean, yeah, it may break the balance and there may be some issues doing that, but at least with 2 years, you've got more time to see more of the game. As a single year, I felt it was impossible to get anything done, and the game kicked my butt in that regard. It's a complete polar opposite of the video game. The video game is very casual. There's a lot to do, but again, it lets you take things at your own pace. This game has a hard time limit, and you're expected to be as efficient as possible. And I don't like the direction that the board game takes compared to the video game. You know what I mean? I just don't like that. I can see why decisions were made to do that. As a board game, you're like, well, if you want to play a board game within 45 to 60 minutes, you kind of have to set a limit at some point. You know what I mean? And that's totally understandable. That's fine. But as someone that enjoyed Stardew Valley because of its casual nature, and then to come into this and play this, I felt like I was rushed. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves in anything I do. If I'm at work, if I'm playing a game, I hate games that involve time limits or something it's something counting down in the back. I've got 2 minutes to complete my turn, or 30 seconds to make a decision for I don't like that. I don't like being rushed. So this game, again, there's that hard time limit that I just simply don't like. So I would, if I could, extend the game another year, if I could, via some kind of house rule, to give me more leeway to see more of the game in one playthrough. I would also find a way to, by default, mitigate dice rolls. There's a lot of dice rolling in this game that can screw you over. For example, if you go mining and you roll skulls, that's just bad luck. If you're opening geodes, which are hard to get in the first place, and you happen to keep getting rocks as opposed to artifacts or whatever, it's just unfortunate. Sometimes you'll get things that you don't need in order to complete your objectives, and that's RNG I don't like. Fishing, if you roll dice and you can't get the symbols you need, bad luck, you wasted your turn, and you have such a limited number of turns to begin with. So I would like ways to mitigate dice rolls. If you're going to play with a single deck and just do 1 year, mitigate dice rolls so that you can re-roll dice by default. Or, again, play over the course of 2 years so that the dice rolls aren't as brutal when they do come up in a negative way. You know what I mean? So that's what I would do in order to make this game, I don't know, more balanced in terms of being more casual. That being said, I love it. I love this game. It's such a fantastic. I mean, I don't very often see games that are ported well from board game to video game and vice versa. This one is done very well. The theme is so good. You know, you've got Pierre. I mean, all of the people that you see in the video game are, for the most part, here. Like the villagers themselves. Like, you'll recognize Elliot, Emily, Meru, Gus. You can even get married in this game, which I have not done. Again, I made 0 friends on my playthrough. But look at all these characters and look at the art. That's just fantastic. So, like, I love that. And I love that, you know, they give you gifts as you accumulate them. There's various ways to play this game. You know, you can go on fishing and go over here. Like, you can do a lot of things that you can do in the video game. Again, my only complaint really was the time limit prevents you from really exploring any of those things at length. And that's my biggest complaint. But getting back to the positives, everything is, like, everything is put together very well. I love the randomness here of Grandpa's goals. That way, you know, no 2 games are the same. You've got, I think, a total of 8 goals here, so most games should be different. You've got 5 bundle cards per room, so again, no 2 games are going to be different with that regard. The mines, you know, there's 39 of these map cards to cycle through. There's like 55 fish in the bag, 40 minerals and artifacts. So yeah, there's the artifacts on the one side and the minerals on the other, and so on. So yeah, I mean, like, in terms of like taking Stardew Valley as a video game and cramming it into a board game, content-wise and thematically wise, it's beautiful and it's well done. Again, my only complaint is the time. But other than that, this is fantastic. I sincerely hope that the manufacturers or the developers can work with the manufacturers to get the board game out there and do it in such a way that scalpers can't buy a gazillion copies and then sell them on eBay for you know, I hate that. If they can somehow limit purchases to one per person or something like that, there are ways around it, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, like, it's unfortunate that a popular board game such as this, that's well done, is on back order and sold out within days of it coming to the market, and there's no replacement in sight. Like, it's just a shame, you know. But you know, I'm hoping that a new board game or a reprint comes out soon to replace that. In the meantime, this tabletop simulator version is fantastic. I highly recommend checking it out. You'll get a lot of playtime out of this, and I intend to possibly cover a full game here if I can at some point in the future. We'll see. But in the meantime, yeah, I do recommend it if you can get your hands on it. And if you like cooperative games and you like Stardew Valley, the video game, check this out. If you guys haven't already subscribed to me on Twitch and YouTube, that way you can stay up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.